Member for Fanny Bay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I just wanted to also welcome the students from Essington School, the Year 5 students. Welcome to the chamber today, guys. Hi. Madam Speaker, today I stand before you to address this critical issue facing our community, the alarming increase on assaults on workers, including the despicable act of spitting on our frontline staff. It's time we take decisive action, protect those who serve our community tirelessly, day in and day out. Now, the Labor government will have you think that we are not protecting our staff, but I would like to ask the Labor government, what have you done in the last 8 years to protect the staff that you say Labor fights for? You say you fight for people of the NT and workers. What have you done? You have had no impact. You've actually had the opposite impact. The rates of assaults on our workers have increased. Yet you sit here and say that we're not doing our job. What have you done? You have not done your job. First and foremost, let's acknowledge the gravity of this situation. Just with St John's staff, paramedics that serve our community, in the past 12 months, there have been over 140 reports of physical and sexual assault against St John's staff. This translates to an average of 1 incident per operational paramedic, highlighting the severe risks faced by those who are committing to saving lives and maintaining public safety. This is not just a statistic, it's a stark reminder of the dangers our frontline workers face absolutely every day. These statistics, they represent real people, our neighbours, our friends, our family members, who have been subjected to violence while serving our community. Our proposed amendments to the law are not just about punishment. They're about sending a clear message that violence against workers will not be tolerated in the Northern Territory. We're introducing mandatory minimum sentences for assaults against workers, against all Territory workers, and even tougher penalties for assaults on police and emergency workers. Under these new laws, spitting on frontline workers will carry a mandatory minimum sentence of 3 months imprisonment. This may seem harsh to some, but I ask you, is it not harsher to subject our paramedics, our nurses, our police officers to the fear and indignity of being assaulted or spat on while they're trying to save lives? As someone who has personally experienced the impact of a member of my family being spat on after an offender bit their tongue, producing blood, I personally know the repercussions of this on both the worker and the family. The CLP government are also introducing community corrections orders as the minimum penalty for non-physical assaults. This approach ensures that even those who verbally abuse our workers face consequences for their actions. This behaviour is not okay. Our reforms don't stop there. We're expanding the scope of protection to include all workers, regardless of their profession. Physical assaults against any worker will attract a mandatory term of actual imprisonment if the offender has a violent criminal history. For first-time offenders, we're mandating community corrections orders. This approach balances the needs for deterrence with the opportunity for rehabilitation. Some may argue that mandatory sentence is too rigid and it doesn't allow for nuance. To them, I say the time for nuance has passed. As you would have seen following the video that circulated yesterday of a bus driver being physically assaulted, you will know that our workers need protection now. They need to know that when they go to work, the full force of the law stands behind them. The nuisance public drinking laws passed yesterday in this chamber further support our work in preventing public drinking, which often leads to the assaults and gives our law enforcement the tools they need to intervene early and prevent escalation. Critics might say that these measures are too harsh, that they are disproportionately targeted at vulnerable groups. Again, I ask you, who is more vulnerable than a paramedic trying to save a life while being assaulted? Who is more at risk than a retail worker facing abuse from an intoxicated customer? We are not just talking about punishment, we're talking about changing behaviour. Setting clear, strong consequences for these actions, we aim to deter potential offenders and create a safer environment for all workers. Moreover, these laws are part of a broader strategy to address the root causes of violence and antisocial behaviour. We're investing in education, rehabilitation and community support services. But while we work on long-term solutions, we must also provide immediate protection for our workers. Let's consider the psychological impact of these assaults. Workers who have been spat on or assaulted often suffer from anxiety, depression and post-traumatic stress. Some leave their professions altogether, depriving our community of their skills and dedication. By strengthening our laws, we're not just protecting individuals, we're safeguarding our entire workforce. We're also sending a message to potential workers and investors. The Northern Territory is a place where you can work safely, where your contribution
Member for
is...
Bay, please take your seat. Point of order, Member for Berkeley.
Madam Speaker, Standing Order 20, the Leader of the Opposition continues to interject. I'm trying to hear what the member for Fanny Bay is saying.
I do agree the constant chatter from the opposition leader is not acceptable. Please let the member give her speech in silence. Thank you. Member for Fanny Bay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I'd just like to reiterate, we are sending a message to potential workers and investors in the Northern Territory. The Northern Territory is a place where you can work safely, where your contribution is valued and protected by law. This is crucial for our economic growth and community development. Colleagues, in the spirit of working bilaterally across the floor, I urge you to support these amendments. They represent a comprehensive, balanced approach to a serious problem. We're not just changing laws, we're changing attitudes. We're saying to our workers, we value you, we respect you, and we will protect you. To those who would harm our workers, we say that your actions have consequences. To our frontline staff, we say, we have your back. The proposed amendments to our laws aim to address this unacceptable situation by introducing mandatory minimum sentences for assaults against all Territory workers. Specifically, spitting on frontline workers will carry a mandatory minimum sentence of 3 months. This measure is not just punitive, it serves as a strong deterrent against such vile behaviour, reinforcing the message that we will not tolerate any form of violence against those who serve us. It is crucial to recognise that these legislative changes are part of a broader strategy to tackle work-related violence. We must also focus on prevention through education and training programs that equip workers with the skills to de-escalate potentially violent situations. Additionally, enhancing workplace safety protocols and providing support services for affected workers are essential components of our comprehensive approach. Critics may argue that mandatory sentencing removes judicial discretion and may lead to unintended consequences. However, the severity of these offences demand a firm response. Our frontline workers should not fear for their safety while performing their duties. By enacting these laws, we are affirming our commitment to their protection and their well-being. Let us also consider, again, the psychological impact on those that have been assaulted or spat on. The long-term mental health issues don't only infect the individuals, but their families and their communities. Strengthening our laws is a necessary step in preventing further harm and ensuring that our frontline workers feel valued and supported. In conclusion, I urge my colleagues to support these amendments. By doing so, we send a clear message that violence against workers will not be tolerated in the Northern Territory. We owe it to those who dedicate their lives to serving us to provide them the protection they deserve. Thank you, Madam Speaker.